I wanted to start off this morning talking about an external focus. We can't do it the way we've been doing it for the last 10 or 15 years. It doesn't work anymore. Our customer's asking us to change. As a matter of fact, he's demanding that we change. If we don't change, they're going to go somewhere else. They don't need us. That's the message. We got to get back in touch with our market, with our customer, and do the things that they're asking us to do in a more effective way. We're almost a transformed organization, okay? One of the things I want you to leave here with is that this transformation is just about behind us. There's an awful lot of people who think that there's really lots of change still ahead relative to our competency-aligned, integrated program, team, vision organization. You understand where we are and all the turmoil that's going on around us in our organizations. But in spite of all that, we have to step up to the challenge and do the things that our customers are asking us to do. Don't lose sight of we have a strategic plan of becoming a world-class organization and staying there. We've proven twice when we were measured that we are truly the best in this business. We have to keep ourselves at that same level. There isn't anybody smarter at it than we are. We're the ones that need to get it, and that's why I'm trying to refocus this on the outside as opposed to on the inside. They're not frustrated at people. They're frustrated at the system not being responsive to something that they don't have answers for.
I really do believe the message that John Lockhart has already given you is the way we feel in the fleet, not trying to do your business, but only looking at it from the customer perspective. I think the metrics that were on the slides up here are absolutely correct, of modernization, readiness, recapitalization, and reducing the cost of doing business, because we struggle with these four metrics every day at the fleet level, at the TICOM level, to try to better understand our readiness statistics and reducing the cost of doing business. Now, it was mentioned here that you all have spent too much time, maybe that's the wrong way of saying it, of looking inward. But there are some drivers as to why you've done that, we believe, from the fleet. We know you've done that, and we talk about that as a customer, that they're not paying enough attention to us. And that's where I'm saying I'll lay my cards face up on the table. I don't see it quite as much as the people that work for me do, and I'm not trying to pass the blame off on them, because I'm on the same team that they are. But they tell me, boss, they're not paying enough attention to us. They're doing their own thing. We do want to improve communications between you and us, between the customer and you. I truly believe that we in the fleet, we at the TICOM level, want to partner with you with increased communications, and we certainly agree with your metrics of recapitalization, modernization, readiness as probably the number one, and looking at ways where we can work together to reduce the cost of doing business. It's vital to our future in naval aviation and vital to the well-being of the force.
It's important to understand then the trades that have to be made from a resource and requirements point of view in the Pentagon when we talk about how we manage those resources and how we try to leverage the maximum return on our investment. We are, in fact, buying 31 airplanes for the United States Navy and the Marine Corps in 1996. It doesn't get any lower than that. It has never been any lower than that. And if we don't start to move up the curve on the other side, we will all be sitting around, as Augustine talks about, shaking around the table to see who flies the last airplane. Finding that balance between the SYNC's demands, and if I was a forward deployed SYNC, I would want every platform I had out there to be able to act like King Kong and take on every possible threat that could come over the horizon. But if we continue to do that, whether it's from an amphibious warfare sense, a strike warfare sense, an ASUW sense, a Marine Corps sense. If we try to make everybody 10 feet tall in this business, again, we will be talking about one airplane for type model series, and it will be a very capable airplane. And we'll draw straws to see who gets to fly it.
I'm going to try and talk bottom line with you. I came down as a missionary. There isn't enough money, and you have too much of it. We look at execution in the main as a source for identifying weakness. And since we're heartless budgeteers, we always shoot the wounded. So anybody's program who's in trouble is going to lose money because they're not executing their program as per schedule, and so obviously they can do without it. Now, that's not true in every case, but in every case you have to come back to the table and convince us that we've got it wrong. This is a pictorial representation of where we're headed according to the President of the United States and the Congress of the United States. This is 1995, total top line for defense, just about $263 billion. We're going down into this valley in 1996 and continuing into the pit, as Brent said, in 1997. And then we start on the climb out of that pit through the end of the fit-up. Near-term readiness, this administration has made that the central plank in their defense goal. Maintain near-term readiness for all of the soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines, so that if we do get into a conflict, we'll have as ready a force to deal with that conflict as possible. And they've sacrificed quite a lot of the rest of the defense top line to preserve that near-term readiness.
We are about to enter a new phase in the transition. It's important that we all understand what that means, and then once we understand it, we communicate it to the rest of the corporation.
I am absolutely positive that we can make this work and that we need to make this work. That the competency-aligned organization can be overlaid on our traditional military command structure. Absolutely believe we can do that. The concept is to migrate toward area commanders, east and west. For the average person, this change is going to be fairly transparent. The way you are working on teams and supporting program efforts and other customers will pretty much remain unchanged. As we overlay the competencies onto this traditional command structure, certain people at the top, some of the leadership, will have their organizational structure change somewhat, primarily in terms of to whom they report. And by the way, this whole effort is to better support teams and what they're doing, and I believe firmly that we can do that.
I think we've been asked to do four things. The four is pay attention to readiness, recapitalization, modernization, and be more cost-effective as we do that. I believe that's what our customers measure us by, how well we do those four things. Okay? There's not a day goes by that I don't get challenged by the leadership in just about all of these areas, particularly getting more cost-effective in the way we do our business. On the readiness side, I think we need to take a look at this differently than we have in the past. We always pay attention to what goes on our forward deployed units. It doesn't matter if it's an aircraft carrier, an Aegis cruiser, or if it's an amphibious battle group. What we always pay attention to exactly what they have on those ships and how much of it is ready to be used and what condition it's in. But frankly, the further we get away from that forward deployed unit, the less we really know about what's going on. I think we have to, in our business, focus on the big picture because that's where the big bucks come from. We got to start worrying about total kinds of things. How many of our 4,000 aircraft are usable? How many aren't, and why aren't they? What can we do to get more of them in a usable condition? Read that. How can I get them through the depots faster? That means less money. Okay, that means more available to the operator. That means the overall inventory can come down. Those are huge savings if we pull that off. Weapons. How many of them are actually usable? We pay attention to the ship fills, but we don't pay attention to how many of them are sitting at different repair sites around the world in an unusable status. We need to understand, we don't even know what that's costing us just from an inventory standpoint of letting it sit somewhere. We've got to find those answers out. We've got to go out and figure out ways to do it more efficiently and free up dollars.
We talk about full mission capability and mission capability in the aircraft readiness area, and the numbers, if you just work back a little bit, our full mission capability for 1995 was 63.4% across the board. That means if you had 3,400 airplanes, you've had about 1,400 of them not ready. To pick up on Admiral Lockhart's statement before, 1,400 not ready, not in use, not making money, not flying anywhere on any given day, if you believe the averages. You have another 700 airplanes in pipeline. You saw Don talking yesterday about the 564 days for an E-2, I think. That's 2 years almost that an airplane's gone from the user.
Let's talk about recapitalization. I think all of us know that we have two major programs that are basically on the way to production now. That's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is how do we get them cheaper. We pay attention to what the performance is and getting it in the air and doing all those wonderful things that we want them to do. The problem that I see is that we can't get our industrial facilities to figure out how to make them in a more cost-effective way. And we absolutely have to use the talent that we have in the Naval Air Systems team to get them focused on that. We need to build F-18EFs cheaper. We need to build V-22s cheaper. We need to make them change their production line. 10% saving early in a program where these airplanes are costing over $100 million a piece is a heck of a savings. We got to go after them. We got to force them to do that.
One of the pressing concerns on the part of Admiral Bennett is, am I really going to have the money to recapitalize the way I need to keep sufficient aircraft on the decks of our carriers? Because to the extent he's unable to do that, our force structure is at very real risk. This is the TAC Air picture in the absence of recapitalization. As you can see, we have our mainline airplanes today, and as you can see, after around the turn of the century, they're starting to go away fairly steadily. And therein lies the need for platforms such as EF and JAST and so forth to start making up the difference and maintaining that inventory level that we need.
We have an awful lot of activity going on. I know you can't read this, but you'll have a chart of it. I just want to show you. This is all the mod stuff that's happening. Here's when it's going to be introduced. There's a major activity up here. There's a major upgrade for the F-18 radar here. There's EA6 89A here. There's a major structural upgrade to the F-14. Night targeting system, P3, update 3. There's an awful lot of activity going on here. We forget sometimes just how much work we really are doing in our business.
In the next 3 years, there are only 4 platforms that we're recapitalizing. V-22, T-45, F-18, and E-2. We might get a VERT-REP helicopter in 99. JPATS comes in 2000. That's it. We're not recapitalizing anything else in the President's budget. And it's a long time before any of those things start pumping numbers out in meaningful terms to start affecting things. This is where the action is in the near term for the maintaining the viability of naval aviation, I think. It's in these modernization programs.
Here's what the cash flow looks like. We had $16 billion in the front door last year. End result was 75% or $12 billion of the 16 went to the private sector. 1.4 billion of what was left came from other services, so that left us with 2.6 that we actually control and use for our daily activity. Think about a 10% reduction in the cost of doing business. We got to work better, smarter. Okay? What I'm going to charge each of you to do is go back to your workforce and get down to the level of people who are actually doing the work and help them get rid of workload. Okay? Go in there and figure out what it is you do, not you, but the people who are actually doing the work, the place where we're spending the money. Take every step that's there and get rid of those that don't make sense. Work smarter, quicker. Drive out this stuff that's draining the system so that we can put the money back in the products.
I would say you can assume demand is constant and still reduce that number by deleting non-value efficiently. And until you create the challenge, you'll never meet the challenge. The perceptions are, on the part of our external customers, that our cost of operation is not coming down commensurate with the money, the total TOA that comes into the organization.
I really do believe the secret with communicating with our customer can be influenced significantly by a strategic communication plan. Well, I think we need to put some very concerted effort into understanding who we want to communicate with, developing a plan to get to them, and then defining what the right media to do it in. Joe Dyer brought in, he's got a program started now where at the end of every cruise, the maintainers, not the squadron pilots and the skippers, the maintainers come up and they sit down in the room with all our people in room 110. They tell them what was wrong with the airplane. And we fixed 5 or 6 problems on the F-18 that was just driving them off the wall, maintenance man-hour time, that for whatever reason wasn't being captured. So, I mean, it's things like this, and I use that one only because I'm familiar. I'm sure there are others of you who are doing similar kinds of things, but we ought to get those out so we can share them.
Let's use the F-18 again as an example. My God, the degree of communications that goes on between all of us in that program is, just a tremendous success, I think. The openness and the sharing of technical information that probably we have no business even seeing, but we do, and we can scratch our head and say, looks like this is pretty good.
The syscoms relative to the rest of the workforce, the thing that bothers me, frankly, is that these are often, by and large, our customers up here, and they aren't going down at the rate we are. That means that a lot of interface here, we still get expected to respond. For instance, in the challenges, questions, reviews, as though we were equally sized, and frankly, we're disproportionately sized, so we're having to do a lot more in the way of responding to our customers here. More people asking lots of questions and less people to answer them. That's an important thing I think we need to focus on, and how better to communicate. Because we're just going to, as we get smaller and essentially they level off here, the challenge is going to be harder and harder to respond to them. one of the things we don't do very well is communicate. And frankly, we've, done a little bit of talk here about communication, but that doesn't even scratch the surface of what we really need to do. We can't solve it in a forum like this, but we've got to solve it as a corporation. We have got to figure out how to get below the third layer in an organization. I can tell you that just about anywhere I go, information is not getting below the third layer consistently. So we need to figure out how to do that. We need to share good ideas where we see communication working well, and there are examples of it out there. We need to get that, capture it, and distribute it amongst ourselves so we can take advantage of the lessons learned.
There's a thought process out there, and I may step on some toes with this one, that only the big guys here among us can come up with good ideas. Us small guys down here see that, whether you think it's there or not. We believe it's there because of actions. I happen to think that Joe Dyer is one of the best program managers, even though he is from North Carolina, that I've ever worked with. But Joe does not have a market on the good ideas that are out there. We need to look for a forum to get those good ideas in front of our leadership group so that we can decide whether they're applicable across the board or adaptable across the board. And I don't see that process currently in existence.
We're in the major throes of moving. If downsizing isn't enough, now we're going to ask those who remain to shift locations all over the country. And this chart is to try to give you some idea of just how much of that's going on. There's 4,700 plus people that will be moving into Pax River. There's 758 people moving into Cherry Point, 1,144 into Jacksonville, 1,410 in the North Island, a little bit out into the WD world, but there's an awful lot of churn going on, and that's happening over the next 2 years. We are truly the best in this business. The only way that this organization is going to continue to get better is that we're working as a team to make it that way.
I want all of the NAVAIR team to know how much that I appreciate personally and professionally the quality of the work that they've done over the years. I remain a big fan of the NAVAIR team. Keep up the great work.
I, first of all, have to congratulate the NAVAIR team on what I consider to be an extraordinary effort over the last 5 years, certainly over a much longer period of time than that. But the challenge over the next few years is to continue to try to provide that same kind of quality service and that same kind of technical foundation for the business that we're in, and do it in the most cost-effective and most responsive manner possible.
It's a great team. I think we need to continue to work together as we have in the past to build on the total team concept, not only just within NAVAIR, but within the partnership with the customer as well. And I look forward to working with the NAVAIR team to help do that in the future.
There is absolutely no doubt in my mind we are going to change. We can sit here and put our head in the sand and say, nope, not in my place, and we can react to it when it's here, or we can figure out where we ought to go and lead our organization there, which is what we're being asked to do. If we don't respond to the request, we will be removed, and it will occur. It is going to happen. So we better get engaged in it and manage and lead our way through this. You understand where we are and all the turmoil going on around us in our organizations? But in spite of all that, we have to step up to the challenge and do the things that our customers are asking us to do. You are absolutely the finest group of people that this country could ever ask to do this job. I've spent a lot of time the last 5 years working with other people from other organizations who do the same kind of work you do. they don't hold a candle to your abilities. It's time now we put that together in a cohesive way, focus it back outside so that we're doing what our customers need to do, and come back with the reputation of the world-class organization that we are, that we deserve to be recognized for, and that each of you can take pride in because of your own individual skills.